Welcome back, everybody. We're going to start the first video in a series that will cover this particular exercise here. Um, this is similar to some of the stuff that we've done before. We've already worked with Razor a bit. We've already worked a little bit with Entity Framework and databases and data models and all that stuff and MVC. What we're really focusing on here is more using the Razor pages with the Entity Framework core and working with a data set that's a little bit deeper and richer than the stuff that we've done before. So in other words, instead of working with one data model and one database table, we're going to work with multiple linked or related database tables, and a little bit more complicated app, kind of the same stuff that we've done, but just ramping it up another notch. And I think this one's a really good example of maybe something that's a little bit more real world as a result, because rarely in the real world do we have very simplistic data and all of it goes into one table, right? That's not realistic. um, all right, so once again, the prereqs here, Visual Studio 2022, .NET 6 or better. We're working with .NET 8 here. We are going to use the local SQL Server database inside the product. And if you are running a full version of SQL Server on your development machine, then it will default to working on that. That's just how Visual Studio does it. They do have a link here to the completed project. I'm going to go ahead and open that up once again, just like we did in the previous one, where it's kind of nice to like, where does stuff go, or what code am I missing, or what's the end result supposed to look like. Having it handy is smart. They give you a little bit of a preview here as far as what you're doing and what you're building. And basically, what's kind of fascinating about this is you're building a fictional university website called Contoso, and this is one of those like famous like Microsoft example websites and projects that they've been doing for decades. This Contoso is like this virtual construct. You can see here this, it doesn't look too dissimilar than some of the stuff that we've already done, where you can tell like this is like a database dump, and in this case we are looking at we're going to be looking at student information, course information, and instructor information. And if you read here, it says users can view and update all three of those. And here's some of the screens, right? So here's, I'm assuming students, right? There's your edit screen. And then you can imagine that some of the other ones will have similar approaches, right? We are just using all the built-in examples. They also recommend here that if, and this is optional, right? And so I'm not going to do it basically, but I'm going to talk about it. That is that you could take the sample, download it, build it, and see how it's supposed to work and what it's supposed to look like. And that might not be a bad thing. The issue that I have with that is if you download something and then you're trying to name something else the same way, you get into name conflicts and stuff. So maybe that's one reason to avoid it. But generally speaking, if we run into an issue, we're going to check the solution up here, right? So we're not going to do that. We're not going to build a project, and we're not going to update the database, okay? But we are going to start from scratch, and we are going to create a new project. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So in Visual Studio, we're going to go ahead and create a new project. So let's launch, choosing a new project. They want us to select ASP.NET Core Web App, right? And you want to select that same one that they have here. And I want to make sure that I'm choosing the right one. I don't want empty. I want the one named the exact same way that they have theirs named. I know I'm using, it's got to be this one with the Razor pages, right? Yeah, Razor pages. Okay, so now it's marked Razor pages, basically. So this is the approach we're using. All right. In the configure your new project dialog, enter Contoso University. It's important to name that to match the capitalization so the namespaces will match. The other thing I'm noticing here is that once again, they're not talking about putting the solution in the same folder. So how do you think I'm going to figure it out so I don't get burned like I did last time? Is I'm going to look at their solution here. And boy, of course they have like, 20 different versions of it. And so I basically want to find the completed version. So let me go here. If this is, okay, this looks better. All right. So are they putting the solution file and the project file all in the root folder? It seems to me that that's the case. Are you guys picking up on that fact? So I'm not sure what these are. The project file is certainly in the root. Okay. I have no reason to not do that, so I'm gonna make that selection. So I'm just gonna be brave and just kind of make the choice. But let's name it exactly like they want so we don't have a weird like name spacing issues. So naming it, I'm putting the solution and project in the same directory. I'm assuming that's what they're doing. No harm done if not, right? That's a safer bet in my mind. We're using .NET 8. I want you to notice they're on .NET 6. So we're going to downgrade to their version just in case there's differences. I don't want any problems, basically. So we're going to go to .NET 6. So let's do that. And they have HTTPS checked and nothing else. And then we're going to go ahead and click create. All right, so that will at least get our project started here. So far, so good. Let's do a couple of things here. Let's try to get a couple more things done before we adjourn for the day, just so that everybody gets a good head start. It says copy and paste the following code into pages shared layout CSHTML. And I can just grab the green parts or I can grab the whole darn thing. Let's go see what might be easier to do. So we're going to pages shared and then layout. All right, let's see what's easier to do here. I think changing the title is easy enough. So copying that. And I'm just going to replace the title. It's just a little bit of a tweak, right? Then we're going to go just underneath the container to the navbar brand. We're going to grab that whole line. So this line's being replaced. Not sure I see a difference there, but whatever. And then in the UL class navbar nav flex grow 1, we're going to copy all of these list items. So we're changing the menu basically. So this section is going to get replaced. And one more tweak. In the footer, in the container, we're changing this snippet of code here. In the footer, inside the container. Just a slight little tweak. Saving. Then we're gonna go to pages index. So pages index. It says replace the contents with the following code. So I'm just going to copy all of it and then come back to a control A. Oops, over here though, control A in the file and paste. So now we're replacing all of it. And of course, if you want to read up what the changes are doing, that'll be that. Now, here's where I'm going to stop. So I'm not going to record anymore here today, and we're basically right at time. But I do want to talk about what's coming up next and why this is a little bit deeper than what we did before. In the previous things, we worked with like the movie database and the to-do list or whatever, and those are one table, right? With like 3, 4, 5 fields in it. Here, we're going to take 3 tables and link them together. This is much more like a real application, right? We're working with a real database, and a real database often will have multiple tables that are related to each other with different types of relationships, either one-to-one or one to many or many to many or whatever. And you can see this is basically the data model that we're working with. And that's where they start. They start talking about that data model. And you can see that this is a little bit more complex than what we did before. So let's stop here. When I do the next video, I'll pick it up from this spot and roll forward. Otherwise, this video ends here, and look for the next one to finish up the project.